Hi, Rebon. This week you're going to be learning quite a bit about creating static methods inside of your class. So what I've come up with is a few descriptions of some static methods. So I want to read the description, show you the code, and then we'll test them in the main method. The first, write a complete method called welcome message. The method should return a welcome message that includes the username and visitor number that have been sent as parameters. So that means we're sending a string that I'm going to call S and an int that I'm going to call X. So for example, if the parameters were Joe and 5, the return string would be welcome Joe, your visitor number 5. So inside the method, you can see I return a string that I am fabricating. Welcome concatenated with the parameter S, concatenated with UR visitor number, concatenated with the integer parameter X. Now down in my main method, I have a print statement that calls welcome message and sends to it the parameter Joe and 5. So if I run this, I see my output, welcome Joe, you are visitor number 5. Okay, so let's take a look at the next description is for a static method called alarm. Okay, write a method called alarm that prints the string alarm several times on separate lines. The method should accept an integer parameter that tells it how many times the string is printed. Print an error message if the parameter is less than 1. You must use a loop. So in this case, we really aren't returning anything. So in the method header, we return void. So inside the method, I have an if else. So it says if this value is less than 1, I print error. Else, I'm going to make a loop, and I'm going to print alarm on its own line X number of times. So let's go ahead and run that. And if I send it, let's see what I'm sending it alarm 5 times. So I should see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the loop controls how many times the word alarm is being printed. Next up is the method sum100. So let's go take a look what that does. Okay, so you're supposed to write a method called sum100 that adds up all the numbers from 1 to 100, inclusive. Inclusive means to include, and returns the answer. You must use a loop. It doesn't say I have to send it any parameters. It does say I'm returning the answer, the sum of integers. So I'm going to create a variable inside the method called sum, initialize it to 0, and then I'm going to create a loop that starts from 0 or 1. It really doesn't matter because if we add 0, it's not going to change the answer. And so I is 1 as long as I is less than or equal to 100. And we have to do equal because we said to include 100. And then we're going to go inside the loop and add the value of I to sum. When I'm all done, I'm going to return sum. So that happens to be the value 50/50. So when I run it, that is the value I get. So let's comment that out. And the next method we're going to take a look at is a method called count A. So let's go see what that does. Write a method called count A that accepts a string parameter. It returns the number of times the character A is found. So that means since we're counting something, we're going to return an int. You must use a loop. So num, inside the loop, I make a parameter called num. I initialize it to 0. That's going to keep track the number of times we found an A in the string. Now I've created a loop, and the loop's going to start with the first, in the first position of the string and go up to the length of the string -1. Inside the for loop, I'm going to create a string of 1 character. So if I is 0 and we go to 1, it's going to take the first parameter, and then the next time through the loop, it'll take the second parameter in the string. If the string equals A, and I'm specifically asking for capital A, I'm going to increase a num. And when I'm all done, I'm going to return num. So further down in the main method, you can see this is what is my string apple A, two capital letters. So my num that's printed, my num A should be 2. So let's go ahead and run that. And I got 2 of them, just like I'm supposed to. Okay, a couple more to go. A couple more mathy ones. Write a method called average that accepts 4 integer parameters, which I'm showing here, and returns the average as a double, a decimal, that accurately calculates the average. So we just have to watch out when we're doing integer math, because adding up all these integers will make this an integer divided by an integer, which we know from Java math will not always reflect the correct decimal answer. But if I just change one of those numbers to a decimal, the whole answer becomes decimal. So down here, I'm going to test out this method. I'm going to call average with 1, 2, 3, and 4. That average is 2.5. So let's run this and verify that my code is working correctly, and it does. One more to take a look at. Let's go read the description. So this last one, write a method called average that accepts a double array. That's what I'm showing here, and returns the average as a decimal that accurately calculates the average. So I'm go inside the method. I have a sum that I'm setting equal to 0. I use a for each loop to process every element in the array, and every time through the loop I'm going to add the element to sum. And when I'm all done, I'm going to divide sum by the length of the array. So let's go ahead and test that out. This is not the answer. Okay, and that average is 168.145, and so on. So that is quite a few methods, static methods based on descriptions. This is something you're going to have to do on the AP exam, and this is something you'll be asked to do on quizzes and tests in the future. Be able to write methods based on some kind of description. So practicing reading the description, writing out what's returned, writing out the parameters, making sure that you return what you said you were going to return. Those are important skills that you will continue to build upon in this course. So let me know if you have any questions, and have a great week. Thanks.